When we aren't actively engaged in using our imagination to transform, it usually means that we are using it against ourselves. Because whether we realize it or not, we are continually engaging in the use of our imagination to create our life for good, bad, or otherwise. And if we're not doing it on a conscious level, then it's usually used to harm us instead of help us. So why not begin to use our imagination to create that life that we love? So we're going to talk about just such a thing on how to use the imagination to transform. There's literally a treasure trove of information about the imagination, and some of my favorites are this one for sure from Napoleon Hill, where he says, "The imagination is the most marvelous, miraculous, inconceivable, powerful force the world has ever known." And he goes on to say, all the breaks you will ever need in life wait within your imagination. The imagination is the workshop of the mind, capable of turning mind energy into accomplishment. So I'm suggesting that instead of using our imagination to forecast the worst case scenario and replay every single time that we have messed up during our day, let's begin to use it the way God designed for it to be used. When we use our imagination to replay all the missteps and mistakes that we've made throughout our life, and we retell those same old stories about the trauma and the drama and all the things that have happened to us, or even if we're just forecasting into our future the worst case scenario because we have bad luck or we can't get a break, when we are continually using our imagination in that way, what happens is it creates this cocktail of stress hormones in our physiology, and we have, appetites and cravings and addictions and anxiety and depression coursing through our biology because we are not using our imagination in a way that helps us. And I think that's why there are so many ancient teachings that warn us against such a thing as using your imagination in that way. And so one of them is William Blake, where he said, "What we behold, we become." So if we're looking at the worst case scenario, that's what happens in our life. And C.S. Lewis said, "We are what we believe we are." So if we believe we can't get a break, then that's what we're going to bring in our life. But the one I love the most is the quote by Rumi, where he says, "We should live our life as if it is rigged in our favor." In 2 Corinthians 10:5, it admonishes us to cast down every vain imagination. And if you study that out, that really just means to cast down things that are presumptions against higher truths, or notions or concepts or constructs or beliefs against higher truths. And we've been talking about the awakened brain and what that looks like. And that is our spirituality network that we come in hardwired with. And I talked about it in I See Dead People and expanding our awakening. And when we bring that online, we end up feeling emotionally and physiologically that we are loved and cared for and guided and protected from a source outside of ourselves. And in a lot of my videos, I've talked extensively also about our heart. Whatever it is experiencing, the mind just follows suit. One of the many reasons that it says don't allow your heart to be troubled. And it even says guard your heart with diligence, for out of it flow the issues of life. And so when we allow our heart to be troubled, when we ruminate and meditate on things that are harmful to us, what happens then is the mind goes into great detail and brings thoughts almost ingeniously on how your life might go to hell in a handbasket in the next moment. And so we are hardwired for transcendence and transformation. We actually have the network to go out beyond our ordinary limitations. But the problem is, for a lot of us, when we start trying to do that and things don't change immediately, we get discouraged. And it would be like trying to turn a tanker in the ocean when it's got momentum going forward. It takes a little bitty bit. But remember, the awakened brain is 1/3 genetics and 2/3 developed by grit. But we truly are wired for transcendence, and science has proven it through fMRIs and twin studies and all kinds of methodologies that we are created for spirituality and greater states of awareness and awakening. Instead of just hoping and praying and holding on that we make it safely to death, which is really kind of silly if you think about it, we can have a different kind of life, because it is truly our sovereign right as divine children of the soil, and it's part of our pristine blueprint to have vitality and health and wholeness, and to have our life animated by Source or God or the Almighty, if you will, because we are truly cared for, loved, and divinely protected in every moment if we tune our perceptions into that. And if you think about it, no one person has more creativity than another person. We all have creativity. It's just that some people have decided to tap into their imagination and use their creativity, and others have not. When we are using our imagination and our creativity to a great degree to forecast doom and gloom and to look at the worst case scenario, what happens is our brain gets stuck in that loopy thinking, ruminating gear, and then our physiology also gets stuck there. And what happens is our amygdala overruns our brain and it shuts down the command center, and we literally are dumbed down because the only thing that we can think about is, how do I get out of here? What is my contingency plan? If this happens, I'll do that. If that happens, I'll do this. So much so that many of us can't even go to sleep at night because we're stuck in that gear. A few great tips and techniques to start building your awareness and your perceptions and tuning in to what we are ruminating on and what we are imagining and what we are creating with our imagination would be, one, to start really tuning in to your physiology. Because if we're sitting with poor posture and a furrowed brow and we're breathing really shallow, that in and of itself can lead us to have a panic attack, even though nothing bad is happening in our life. And then I would also look at, what are your feelings and emotions? If we are feeling badly and we are having emotional states that are one of depression and anxiety, you can rest assured that you've been having some stinking thinking. But I would definitely go and review my last video where I talk about expanding your awakening and employ the Board of Directors 3.0. It is so fun and easy and a valuable way to begin to use your creativity and your imagination to have a different kind of life. But I would also sit down and I would say it out loudly and I would write it down that you are going to begin to use your imagination in a different way. You are going to create a different kind of life. It really is powerful. You will bring online even more so that ventricular attention network. And then I would schedule it in, because truly discipline is a super power. And if we will give just 5 to 10 minutes a day where we sit down and write about what we want to create in our life and what we are thankful, we will begin to turn that tanker and we will begin to get momentum going in a different direction. It doesn't mean that we're not going to think bad thoughts, but we're going to have the awareness and the perceptions when we do start having thoughts of things that we don't want to create in our life. When we make this firm declaration and decision that we're going to tune into higher states of awareness, what happens then is we are in contact with knowledge and sources of power outside of ourselves, and we can receive greater flashes of inspiration and insights and answers to questions. And we end up agreeing with what many, many, many teachers and ancient teachings have said throughout history, that we are loved, we are cared for, we are protected, we are guided in every moment. It really is a game changer when we make this declaration and we devote some time to building our awareness to what we are imagining. And it's not about faking it until we make it. That truly is a distortion of what is our God-given right. Like, everything that you see around you first started in someone's imagination. And so it's not that we're going to fake being something that we're not, but we're going to begin to be aware of what we are imagining and what we are creating. And I think it was Bob Proctor that said, the greatest nation in the world is our imagination. And I love what Tony Robbins talks about when he does his journaling for a few minutes every day. He ends up stacking all the good things in his life, and then he ends up rehearsing those things. And then the more you do that, the more the mind tunes in to those types of thoughts, and it really does change the momentum of our life. Tapping into our creativity, and creativity can be defined as the use of imagination or original ideas, especially in the production of artistic work. And we have to start somewhere. We have to start being creative and using our imagination for good. And many of us do it all the time, but we don't view it as a bridge to be creating and imagining the life that we want to live. Like, I have one friend who likes to sit down and draw, and I have one friend whose genius is cooking, and another one who's really great at photography. And I think if we begin to view that as this bridge to learning how to draw into our life and tune into our life, this awareness and these perceptions and these flashes of inspiration to create what it is that we really would love to have in our life. And the ways that I do it, number one is I definitely am, using my creativity to bring online my jewelry. But also, I just try to keep one eye peeled and one ear tuned into little ways that I can bring small joys and beauty into my life. For example, I think it's a bridge when I go upstairs and I'm wanting a new pill box, and I end up getting distracted by this box that I was given a present in, and it was just sitting there, and I'm like, I want a pill box, and that's a box. So I took the box and I put these stickers on it, and I have myself a pill box that's not made out of plastic, and it makes me so happy, and I am exercising my imagination and creativity. And then I don't always take my vitamins, all of them, before I leave, so I blinged up this little envelope, and I can just put it in the back of my lunch pail, and it makes me so happy. I took this garlic glass bottle and blinged the top, and I have my DIY turmeric mask in here. And I think it's just how we hold these things in our heart. And to me, these are just bridges. These are techniques that I am using to become a better manifester, creator, and a person who was able to imagine and animate my life in source. So I hope these things have given you some inspiration and some motivation to start tuning in to using your imagination for transformation in your life. But until next time, I'm hoping that you are going to find creative ways. You're going to make a firm decision. You're going to write about it, and then you're going to be blessed. Until next time.